Hi everyone and welcome to the second week of Getting Hitched. Tonight we have another 5 amazing wedding suppliers for you to chat with tonight. You will be able to ask some questions, hear a little bit about what they have to offer, and there might actually be someone, there we go, someone was on mute but it's all off now. And hear a little bit about the changes that may affect weddings with all the COVID changes and what's happening with that. Fantastic news today that obviously we can have 10 people at weddings, and we know that that's going to be increasing more and more as we go along. So we were really, really excited to hear that. Just to let everybody know that this feed will go live on Facebook, and we will also be having this replayed on our YouTube a YouTube channel later in the week. So feel free to hop back in and have another look, or share it with your family and friends if there's different suppliers on here that you like and that you might want to link up with. I'm going to pass over to Sam Muscat to run our night tonight. Sam is one of the MCs from Bloom Entertainment that has been with us for a few years, so we're very lucky to have him facilitating all of the sessions with us through the 5 weeks. We do have tonight and 3 more sessions to go. So definitely please come back, come and watch the rest of the sessions. We've got 25 suppliers to have a chat to in all, different suppliers every week, and we'd love to have your company. Sam, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Michelle, and welcome everybody. And again, welcome to our newcomers that didn't join us last week. And if you are returning this week, welcome again. We have a new lineup this week in this fascinating series of Getting Hitched. And I guess we can say that this series is about, people who are getting married, who are engaged, planning to, or even considering other forms of entertainment. Necessarily, it doesn't really have to be predominantly wedding. Yes, we do focus on that, but some of our other suppliers as well can accommodate other scenarios that Bloom Entertainment do focus on. Again, they are a design company, and by that word, design alone means they, I guess, focus purely on your event, no matter what it is, where it is, or how you wish to display it and run it. So that's the great thing about Bloom Entertainment. I've been with the organisation for nearly over 10 years, and I've had the privilege to work with an amazing lineup of entertainers and other various suppliers. Tonight we have 5 suppliers online. We have a range of suppliers surrounding the celebrancy area. We have a wedding photographer in there as well. We have a vocalist as well, and we've got some custom jewelry scenarios that we can look at with one of our suppliers. And then one important thing, we all like to eat, so there's also something about food styling. So I'm actually looking forward to that one myself personally. So without further ado, I would like to kick off this evening, and our first speaker and presenter today is a very, very special lady. I do get to see her randomly because my part of the role on a wedding is the second part. So this has got to do with the first part of the actual day, which is the celebrant. And I've had the opportunity with working with her for many, many years. Her name is Heidi Rayment. So let's all give her a virtual round of applause.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Sam. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And of course, thank you, Michelle and Bloom Entertainment by Design, for putting on the amazing event. As Sam said, I am a marriage celebrant. I'm based out of Berwick, which means I generally service the Metro, Bayside, Yarra Valley, Dandenong Ranges and Mornington Peninsula areas, although I am also quite happy to travel if you so desire. My business name is Effortless Celebrant Services, because that's the core principle for how I work. I want to make the process as effortless for my couples as possible, which means being super organised and on top of everything, taking on full legal responsibility to ensure that you are married correctly. You'd be surprised how often it happens that you're not. And having a well-structured process for guiding couples in designing a ceremony that's a true reflection of them. So in terms of that process, one of the things that I do is I provide resources. So I provide a resource book, which is full of the possible order of service options that you can have, the arrangements available, logistical and backup planning ideas, inspiration on creative inclusions to your ceremony, and also heaps of pre-written wording options and readings and poems should you want them. So I'm just going to share my screen quickly so I can show you guys a couple of those. This is the Effortless Celebrant Services Wedding Resource Book. The contents page is all hyperlinked. So as an example, if I click on legal matters, it'll take you to legal matters. If I take you to the information on the music or your wedding party, it'll take you straight to that page. So makes it super easy for you to navigate the whole document. So just a quick little scroll through here just to show you how much information is actually included in there. And that's only one of the resource booklets. Another thing that I do provide on some of my greater packages, I guess, should you want the full bells and whistles, you do have the option to have a keepsake booklet made. So here is an example of one that I have done before. So I've taken out all of the names and anything private, but I designed these basically around your venue, your florals, your colours, anything that's relevant to your wedding, basically, should you want that option. That's just another idea as well. Now, with regards to operating in a COVID-safe manner, the main concerns from my point of view are around when we do have to get close together and we have to sign some paperwork. So the threat of infection could be a risk. During the ceremony, we may also need to use microphones, depending on how many guests you're allowed to have. At the moment, it's not really necessary, but should restrictions continue to ease, I do make sure that I have several microphones for you and or your readers to use, and I have a separate headset microphone for myself. I can also provide lots and lots of pens. Everybody gets a brand new pen at their wedding ceremony, as well as your witnesses. I'm also bringing along hand sanitizer and disposable gloves. So we can really just make sure that we're not spreading anything around. For those getting hitched during COVID, and even for anyone post-COVID, the best piece of advice that I can give you is to just sit down and really think about what's most important to you. COVID's turned everyone's world upside down one way or another. And I think it's forced us to reflect on what really matters. So for some of you, you might just want to get married and you might be willing to sacrifice the big celebration and have something more intimate. For some of you, COVID may have been a bit of a blessing. You may have wanted a smaller, more intimate wedding, but felt obligated to host a larger event, and COVID's allowed you to scale it back. And for everyone who wants to wait and put it off and have the big celebration, that's totally fair as well, especially after all of us being locked down for so long. I think we're all desperate to see our loved ones and have a little bit of a party. So whatever your reason, if you're choosing to get hitched during times of COVID, we have so many amazing industry professionals that have come up with heaps of inventive options for you to make sure it can still happen in a meaningful way. So for me, ultimately, the takeaway is for you to really take stock of what matters most to you and be unapologetic in pursuing that and knowing that the industry is behind you no matter what. And this seems like a good time for a little bit of a shameless plug. So I have just launched the wedding planning podcast, which I call the Effortless Weddings podcast. Each episode, I chat with local Melbourne suppliers from across the whole spectrum of the wedding industry. So venues, entertainers, photographers, florists, other celebrants, specialty and bespoke services as well. Not to mention Bloom Entertainment by Design may have featured. That episode is coming in a few weeks. We talk general wedding planning as well as COVID considerations. So there's heaps of valuable stuff for all couples planning their wedding. And that's pretty much it from me. Thanks, guys.
That's great, Heidi. Thank you. Thank you so much for those insights.
No worries.
As we were talking, the questions were coming through. So we'll have a bit of a quick Q&A session, if that's okay with you. So first of all, the first question that's come in is the legality side of things in terms of what are the legal requirements to get married in Australia? In terms of, number one, the first thing that they were focusing on was what is the minimum time frame that someone can actually register to get married?
Yes. So currently, well, for a number of years now, the minimum rule has been 1 month's notice period.
Great. Sounds pretty simple.
Yeah.
Having said that, in terms of logistical or backup planning, other considerations couples might need to take into mind in relation to that?
Yeah, well, I would recommend that every couple planning a wedding at any time should have a plan B for a start, particularly in Melbourne. We can get 4 seasons in one day, as we all know, and the weather can change so quickly. And you want your guests to be comfortable. So things like making sure there might be shade, shelter as well is a big one, blankets or umbrellas in the winter, and things like water, bug spray, sunscreen, things like that can be really handy in the heat as well. And also think about things like, do you need a permit? There's a lot of people, particularly at the moment, because we can get married outside in public spaces, you may not realise that a permit might be required in your local park or down the beach. You think you can probably just rock up down there and get married. That's not always the case. So good idea is to check with your local council for public spaces. And disability access is a big one. Have a think about whether you've got anyone who's recently injured themselves and maybe on crutches or obviously wheelchairs and things like that. Have a think about who's on your guest list and if they need to have a special disability access as well.
Great. And I guess the next question that popped up, I guess it's a question for all our suppliers, and I'll ask this question to the whole floor, and when each supplier has the opportunity to speak, if they could answer this question individually. We're under this COVID banner, as we all know, and people need to consider numbers, and numbers is a major key factor in our industry right now. And I get asked this question a lot personally myself. How can their event be made or can feel extra special knowing that they have to adhere to these sort of restrictions that we live under right now?
Yeah. So from my perspective, I'm actually really lucky because ultimately the whole point of a wedding is the ceremony to get married. And that alone is a really special moment. I can make the ceremony as personal as you like. It all comes down to how much information you provide me with and the quality of that information. The more couples let me in and give me those little tidbits and nuances of their love story and their relationship, and that's all the stuff that I can use to craft something really meaningful. Whether there's 2 people or 100 people there to hear it, it can still be really meaningful if you let me in and give me that information. It's a really great way for the couple to reflect on how they got here and visualise their marriage future together as well. And I would highly recommend writing your own vows. So even if you don't want to say them on the day or during the ceremony, you can do that, obviously, but you can also write each other a private letter. You can read that letter while you're getting married for the day, while you're getting ready for the day, or you can read that letter later that night together, or even save them for your first anniversary. So a personal letter, private letter is a really nice way to do it. But however you go about it, vows are really the best way you can remind each other what you're really there for.
Yeah, I think you're right, and you sum it up quite elegantly. I think in the years that I've been doing this, I think sometimes couples get so consumed and so overwhelmed with everything and adhering to very large weddings, they sometimes forget about I know it's not intentional, the actual reason why they're getting married and who is the main focus. And I would like to always remind them that, you know, the wedding is about you two. It's not about anyone else. And they are the key focal point. And the way you just described it, Heidi, I think really sums that up and is testimonial to that. So thank you for that. Thank you very, very much. So let's give another round of applause, a virtual round of applause for Heidi. Thank you. Very, very valuable. Thank you. And our next guest speaker is also very, very valuable. I've had the privilege of working with him numerous times also. He is an industry mastermind, I like to describe him. And he specialises in wedding photography and also studio portrait photography. So ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming Brenton John.
Hey guys, thank you so much, Sam. There you go. And Michelle, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this this series as well. So as Sam said, I'm a wedding photographer. Now I'm just going to put the disclaimer there. I'm not as fluent speaking as Heidi. She's a celebrant. I'm behind the camera. So bear with me. So photography is something I've done now for 15 years. Something I'm passionate about. I actually started the business when I was 17 years old. So it was kind of something that I wanted to do long term. Sorry, I didn't want to do long term, but it just happened to float into something that what it is now. Yes, a lot of hard work and a lot of battles and things you've had to go through, but it's definitely what's found my passion for the wedding industry overall, and also the people that you get to meet. Like the wedding industry is one of those industries where just to have the friendships, it's really great. And it also stems, then you see with couples where you rock up to a wedding and you see so many suppliers, and I think guests are really surprised that we all just know each other and we gel so well. We can see another photographer in maybe a particular place in Melbourne that, excuse me, is really common. And we'll go up and do the high fives and the cuddles or something to another photographer. And normally they're sort of thinking, oh, do you guys get along? Aren't you guys competition? The good thing for us is there's no competition with really the wedding industry. There's a bit of banter, but we're quite lucky, and I think it's a really awesome industry to be part of as well. So I guess the best way to describe myself would be, I would say people say I'm the ninja at the wedding, whether I photograph by myself or with an assistant. Again, it depends on which package that they're going for. But people always say, how did you get from here to there, when they're looking through the album that I proposed to them? And they're just confused how I captured potentially the couple at the altar going through the ceremony, and then somehow got a photo of grandma having a cheeky chat with maybe the great grandson over the back. And again, that's all part of understanding what I call storytelling. So not focusing, you're not hired to photograph the official part of just the efficient part of it. It's capturing the whole story as it unfolds, so people can look back in time and go, oh, I feel like I was there. I think when it comes to looking for a photographer, it's really important to be able to sit down and go through someone's wedding album page by page and go, oh wow, that tells me the atmosphere, what was happening, the feeling in the room, basically the whole story, without going, oh, there's a disconnect between that part and that. Like, how did that? There's something missing, I guess. And that's where it comes down to, over the years, really crafting, understanding how to document someone's wedding day, documenting through a couple of different eyes. And this is where, for myself, I think it's really important to say, you want to photograph a wedding through the couple's eyes. So how we do that, we'll have a chat with the couple individually, find out those little triggers or what they love most about their partner. Sometimes for myself, it's about finding out that little bit extra about, maybe it could be the things like pet names, it could be things like just little tidbits, like Heidi said, that they tell you because they trust you, and then you use it against them on the day to get great smiles, because they go, oh my God, I told you that. It's hilarious. And the bridal party give them a bit of crap for it. It all plays out, instead of being like, there's nothing worse than having feedback from maybe another couple who booked you and didn't go with maybe their sister's photographer, and you ask them why they didn't just go with who their family have already used, because I'm honest like that with them. And they'll tell me it's because it was smile 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and it's not an enjoyable experience for couples when it happens. So I think that's something that's important, to make sure that you are having a chat with your photographer, not just booking them based on their photography, but you're booking them based on personality. It's the same with celebrants. They can do great things online, but until you've had a chat with them and understand that you really gel, that's what's going to, for me, I think price is so irrelevant when it comes to people that are going to be with you on the day. You can book someone that's really expensive or really budget. That's irrelevant. I think it's important to make sure you find someone who just you get along so well with, and you know the end result's going to be what you expect and more. I always say one of the things that I sometimes do say to people is it important to get it done right the first time, and the reason for that is it's your wedding day. Like, you don't get a second chance to book, to kind of do a trial run when it comes to suppliers. if you really want to enjoy yourself and not have any stress on the day and know that everything's going to go to plan, it's so important to make sure you book people that you know are going to just show up and also become your stylist or your planner. So with most wedding suppliers that I know, especially photographers, we're not just photographers. There's been times where we've fixed shoes. I carry in my camera bag. You guys will get a kick out of this. Eyelash glue, super glue, needle and thread, like the works. And we carry those things because the things we use all the time. Sometimes we can use those things twice or 3 times a month. It's crazy how many times those things come up and they go, really, you've got that stuff on you? Bobby pins, like all those things that people forget, or a hairdresser might have run out because they've just gone crazy with someone's hair that just won't sit perfectly. And all of a sudden this, male photographer is like, oh, I've got some of those. And there's this like, okay, that's cool, but you're a legend. So that's the sort of stuff that you don't realize till the day. I'm glad we had you. So what else would I say? I'm that joker. So again, there's a few people on the call that on this that I know. They know that I'm a bit of a smart ass. I like to have fun. I'm not serious. So I'm definitely not for those couples that are straight down the line, very, very conservative, and want me to sort of give total direction and place them in the exact spot where the lighting's perfect. And then 1, 2, 3, perfect. That's going to be left-hand page of your album. Yep, now stand over here, turn your head to the light, perfect. Yep, oh, you blinked. Yep, wait. Like that's not me. So if that's a photographer that you're looking for, definitely hit me up and I've got the perfect photographers for you. But what I do offer is people that want to have a lot of fun. Basically, I can't swear on this call, but I'm that person that has fun. I get excited and swear when I'm like, look at the back of this camera. That's pretty cool. I'm just that person that people go, oh, how do you know them? Like, have you worked with them before? Or that's kind of the feedback that I tend to get. I also make sure that grandma's happy, that I'm not offending grandma, if that kind of makes sense. You've got to have that hard line where you make sure that she's not going to be like, who the hell did they book? He's offensive. But also, that's probably how I describe myself. So I think something else, that's another question, obviously, to ask photographers is, can you not just focus on us? Can you focus on all the guests, including our grandparents? Because it's important to have those photos that will become legacy down the track for them when they're no longer here. Because let's face it, it's reality. It's what photographers are there for, to storytell, but also capture legacy for families. What else? For me, in terms of when people are looking at my photography, I really hone in and focus and specialize in creating. It's my puppy, wants attention. I focus on handcrafted albums. Albums are made here in Melbourne. They're not done overseas where the quality hopefully will be okay. It's guaranteed. The supply that we use have been around for 86 years this year. Yes, it might cost that little bit extra, but again, that question I come back to is, do you want it done right the first time? So that's what I think is important. It's an album isn't really for the couple. A lot of the time, that album's created for their kids and their grandkids to look through and go, oh, how did that day unfold? And when they flick through, they feel like they were part of that wedding, even though at the time they may not have even existed. So that's kind of what sums myself up. There we go.
Great.
I talk fast, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that insight. You've actually answered a lot of the questions that were popping up as you were speaking, so, which is great. Actually, one of them was that was coming up was about albums, and you've answered that quite well, which was great to hear. And one thing that I admired in what you actually said about the album, yes, it is for the couple, but it's also, a book, or if you want to call it like a Bible of memories for future generations that come to surface as time goes on. So I think that's a great way to describe it also. One thing that they did ask, and I get asked this question, and I can see a couple of my clients that are on this attending this series tonight. They've asked me this question, and I could not answer the question because we don't know, but hopefully we get some more insight as time goes on, but hopefully you can give some insight. The question is, do our family and family members and friends need to wear masks for wedding photos on the day?
So yeah, at the moment, from what has come out, and this is only in the last 2 weeks, which is fantastic news. While having photography done, so professional photography done, family don't need to wear a mask because that would be kind of strange, but it was something that was overlooked by the government, basically saying that there's not a reason to take it off for professional photography is not a reason. That's been overturned, which is great. So just, yeah, there's a lot of ambiguity around it at the moment in terms of the rest of the night of the function as well. But definitely for professional photography, you can have your mask off. But it's about just being safe and making sure that there is cameras around, things go on social media. So just being mindful to pop it back on when you're not having your photos, because yeah, it's important to make sure that you don't get yourself in any trouble after enjoying your wedding day.
No, that's great. No, that's great insight, and great that there is that type of restriction has been lifted. You know, with, most recently, and hopefully now that Melbourne is reopening, we'll get to see a bit more lift and a bit more easing in the coming days and weeks during this wedding season. One other question that has popped up is in relation to photo shoot locations between the ceremony and the reception. I know there's a big emphasis right now in, you know, outdoors is pretty much the only thing you can do in relation to location shots, etc. Do you have any other ideas out away from, you know, parks and greenlands and things like that?
I think it just comes down to if the couple are wanting greenery, architecture. There's a lot there. You know, in the rain, I've taken a couple into Fed Square, and we've just used the edge of a car park and just the background of the car park because it sort of dropped out quite a bit. It was a really interesting background, but the light fell beautifully on their faces. So it's just about looking around to find spaces. So for me personally, like I'm not a person, if it was my wedding, I probably wouldn't go more for gardens. I would go more for architecture or water. So it's just about, I would say to people, when you're looking at a particular shot, squint at it so it sort of blows it out a bit and goes a bit blurry, if that's the best way to describe it. There's your background. So it's interesting. I've used, as much as people hate yuccas, I've used yuccas in so many photographs because the interesting colors as they grow out, as they change color, it becomes a really good background, especially for family photos when you want to bring two people in nice and close and capture, as long as they're far enough away from the object as well, or the background. So I've done things from, I've used really hideous motels where there was nothing to use for, say, the groom's prep, and I've taken sheets off the bed to use over the window outside to create a background because there was literally nothing else to use, and it was absolutely pouring down rain. So I stood out in the rain and kept the groom and his groomsmen underneath the veranda. It was such a small area, but it was a way to get great photos without putting them out in the rain just before the ceremony. It was think about grey suits, every bit of rain just would show up. So that's why you can't just quickly pop them out in the rain.
No, that's great. That's great, Brenton. And I think one thing to be reminded, and I think to everybody that's online tonight, we're very fortunate here in Melbourne. We've got amazing architecture, an amazing city that's very diverse in, you know, what it has to offer. Yes, there is this standard that people refer to, the standard in terms of parks, greenlands, etc. But you know, there are so many hidden gems in our city that you know, people aren't aware of, and I'm sure the likes of Brenton, who has had the privilege, like myself, to, you know, work at these venues and attend these venues, you know, can our industry contacts, you know, are there to assist us as well. So that's probably something you would agree with as well, Brenton. Yeah.
It is, yeah. Look, there's a lot of venues out there that, especially at the moment, like in terms of what are the positives, there's always, you've got to look at all the positives of what's happening in the current climate. So I guess when you look at what's happening with COVID, you know, if you think about venues, there's so many places that right now aren't able to operate, or they can't operate in such a large capacity. So there's a lot of movement where they might be able to be flexible and allow couples to come in and use their grounds for photography, whether that's slightly undercover or completely out in, it could be beachside venue, it could be vineyards. There's so many places out there that can be used. And it then helps that venue maintain having couples in there. It might help them a little bit with revenue as well to keep them going. But just to add to that as well, Sam, in terms of even venues, I think one of the things to think about is if there's a venue that you may have looked at in the past that may have been out of your price range. I think that's something to think about now, because right now we are limited on how many guests we can have in venues as well. So that's something else that then you might be thinking, well, if you were to circle back to those venues that you loved that may have been out of your price range or needed a lot more guests than what you really wanted to invite, now is the best time to organize a wedding in potentially under 60 days or 90 days to have a really kick-ass wedding at a venue that, you know, in 12 months time, there's no chance you're going to be able to have 60 or 50 guests in a venue that normally has to have a minimum of, you know, of that amount of guests. So it's just, yeah, I always look at the positives in what's happening.
Absolutely. Well done. Thank you so much for your insights and your great talents. The industry appreciates it. We all appreciate your contribution. And you know, the feedback that I received from, you know, your client base has nothing but been 5-star. So thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So we're going to move over now to some entertainment. So I'd like to introduce our next attendee online. His name is Paddy Cummings. He's from Penny Lane. He's waving right now as I hand it over to this fine gentleman. Take it away, Paddy.
Hello, everybody. So my name's Paddy Cummings. I have a wedding band and solo duo kind of set up called Penny Lane. And I've been doing singing at ceremonies for about 15 years. And we do everything from, I sing solo for people at their wedding ceremony, indoors or outdoors. We do canapé music before the ceremony as guests are arriving. Do some canapé music after the ceremony, which is just, you know, singing and playing guitar and just playing crowd pleasers and just cracking jokes with everybody while they're having a drink and having a chat while the bride and groom go off and take photos. And quite often we then play at the wedding reception, whether that's as a duo, myself and a lady singer, or whether it's as a band. At the moment, and I suppose the focus as we're talking about weddings in the COVID era, in the COVID times, and looking at smaller groups and looking at more intimate occasions, is that there's probably more of a market for, with smaller numbers and a smaller setup, as we've discussed earlier, about maybe having someone to sing at your ceremony, to play canapé music for your guests, and maybe have just a soloist or a duo with some backing tracks rather than a full band at the moment. Sometimes it's a little bit overblown to have a 7-piece band with a horn section and, you know, all the great big things when there's only 20 or 30 of us in the room. So we're geared up for that because that's always been something that people have liked, but I think it's something that people are going to focus very much on as we come through the stages towards our COVID normal. A lot of what I do starts with talking with the bride and groom about what music they would like for the processional, for the bride coming down the aisle, or if we're outside the various things that make up an aisle, whether it's sort of sliding along the beach or whether it's coming down a hill or getting out of a helicopter or whatever. And one of the things that I've found over the years is that it's a very emotional and visceral thing to see someone, to see, you know, the older son or the younger son standing there in his finery, but then as the lady comes down the aisle, there's quite an emotional thing. But music is such a visceral and unifying thing for a lot of people that it's often when the music starts that people that have been sort of holding it together a little bit with the whole, you know, 4 weddings and a funeral of the whole thing, and all of a sudden it's, you know, you start singing and everybody just, you know, kind of loses it a little bit. And so that's what we try and bring. I'll say we, whether I'm singing on my own or with one of the lady singers that I sing with. So it's very important to make sure that it's just right. Quite often it's a little bit like an opening night of a play where people that are a couple that are going, you know, with the father of the bride and the bridesmaids and the flower girls and the older people and you know, the navigation on the day, if it's windy, if it's outdoors, or if it's this or that, there's often a lot of stage managing that needs to go between myself and the celebrant, for example, and a couple of people at the venue as to, okay, I'm in this corner and the bride and groom, you know, the groom's there and the celebrant's over here. Let's organise the eye contact. Let's make sure we've got someone to nod when, so that the music starts at just the right time. And as an older and experienced sort of person, one of the things I bring unashamedly to this is that I bring a lot of calm and I bring a lot of experience and able to sort of work in with the celebrant, the event coordinator, the couple of members of the bridal party that have to bloody well be involved in everything, and just sort of keep everybody nice and calm and make sure that whatever happens, you know, whose hat blows off, which flower girl goes crying off into her mother's arms halfway down the aisle, whatever, that we keep that part of the show on the road, because that's not a part of the show that you can go back and do again. So, you know, we talk about, we'll sing the nice bit of the song and make sure that we get to that bit when she's coming down with her father. So I have to be very flexible and often adjust the song a little bit and speed it down, speed up or slow it down, so that when the bride comes to the celebrant and the husband and they're putting things around, that I finish just at the right spot and it's choreographed a little bit and made sure that it's right. And that's probably the most important part of the night, that and the first dance, obviously. But we have to be, as musicians, as band leaders or soloists, sort of play the second fiddle or the ruck rover for the celebrant or the event coordinator to sometimes get on the mic and help people get to their chairs, get their places and tell jokes and that sort of thing, and have a spare mic in case the celebrant's mic isn't working or it's too windy, or, you know, all those sorts of things, help usher people in and all that sort of stuff. So I've got a very, very wide repertoire of music because, you know, being a pub musician for a long time and doing weddings for a long time, we sort of take requests, even during the canapé set when people are standing around having a drink, people will call out requests. And so you create a lot of bonhomie and good vibe as people are starting off their day. There are some changes at the moment with smaller weddings and some COVID safe requirements and stuff that I'm happy people have got questions about to answer about mics and distancing and all that sort of thing. I've got my guitar with me. It's not actually part of my body. I just normally wear it anyway. So I'm happy to do a couple of little snippets of the most popular wedding bridals sort of going down the aisle and signing songs, just little bits if people wanted to hear that. But otherwise, just sort of happy to take some questions from Sam, if anyone's got any.
Yeah, I do actually. They're all coming through. With outdoor ceremonies, power is a key factor. Electricity. Do you have a contingency in place to fire your equipment and so forth?
Sam, I'm glad you asked that question. I have we have a portable set of speakers which that are powered already, that don't require mains. So we can do we can do a half an hour of canapes before the ceremony, do the canapes afterwards, and still have it as a spare kind of battery powered speaker in case there's some mess up with the venue and, you know, no one's got a mic and a speaker that's going to be where the actual tables are, because often in venues, people are sitting in one area and the band's in another. So we've got a decent sized powered speaker that lasts most of the night. So we can do that. There have been a couple of occasions before I had that when we were running cables, you know, through botanical gardens and things didn't work out. So what we would just do is just set of our pants, just take our shoes off and actually just wander through the crowd singing as we went and sort of sang, you know, the songs, and just did an impromptu thing, and it really worked really well. It's not the sort of thing that people generally prescribe or plan for, but yeah, we've always got a kind of light-hearted contingency when things went wrong. But these days, yeah, we've got the big powered speaker, so we're always covered.
That's great, wonderful. And another question that's just come through is in terms of repertoire. And I get asked this question a lot personally through my interactions with my couples. They may have a specific song that they like. However, they want it to be rearranged and redesigned and reinvented in some way or format. Can you accommodate for that?
Oh yeah,
Yep.
it's actually really enjoyable having clients' requests for special songs, whether they're a processional, a signing song, a recessional, a leaving song, or a first dance, is often the way that we actually increase our repertoire. So it's like, oh, that's a great off-the-wall song. I hadn't thought of that. And so I'm a recording engineer as well. So I'm quite happy to send just a quick version of, oh, you wanted this song, but you sort of had this vibe, and I'll sort of send them something by email and say, is that the kind of thing you're after? And they go, oh, that's good. Or could you make it a little bit more reggae or a little more Ed Sheeran or whatever? So, you know, we can do that beforehand if there's a special song, particularly for a first dance, because people are often, you know, long time watchers, first time dancers at their own wedding. And so they want to know that they're not going to get out there and we're going to play something that's way too fast, or they're going to stumble over their feet or anything like that. So no, we're more than happy to sort of either take a little bit of direction and sometimes send an advance copy to people so that they know what they're going to get on the day.
That's wonderful.
Another thing too is, I might add too, is that it's often the wedding, if there's wedding video done of the ceremony, depending on where the video cameras are, they often don't pick up what I do off to the side in the bush, sort of on the edge of everybody, quite as well. So there've been quite a few occasions where they've said, hey, can you actually send us a pro audio version of what you sang on the day? So I just mic up at home and do another version and send it through so that the video people can put a nicer sounding, more forward sounding version of the song, rather than something that's sort of been, you know, you can hear in the background with people talking. So that can be overlaid over the formal video. That's something that we do quite regularly.
Right.
Yeah.
And our next question that's come through is instruments. Now we see you with your guitar, and clearly it's your best friend, which is great. Do you share the stage with, if someone may say, look, Paddy, we want you there, we want you as well, but we want a female to accompany you? Is there something that you can accommodate?
With my own group of performers, or someone that they suggest?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a roster. I have a group of about 4 or 5 lady singers that that accompany me, depending on what the customer, what the bride and groom want. One of them is a real sort of pop and rock singer, Sally. My youngest daughter, Claire, is a pop singer, and she does them with me as well. I have Alinta, who is on a lot of our marketing material, who's sort of former opera singer. And so we have a wide range of people for sing certain songs, depending on the vibe of what people want. Yeah, sometimes I do them by myself, and sometimes we do it. I'll sing, you know, the fellow song, she'll sing the lady song, or I'll just accompany a lady singer. We'll often turn a song that's just a single singer song into a duet, and make a man part and a fellow singing part and a lady singing part, depending on the song, because a lot of the time with ceremonies, the processional, the coming down the aisle song, is over a lot quicker than you think. because people get the nerves on and they kind of scuttle down the aisle, and you know, all of a sudden it's done. So the signing song or songs are generally the thing where people want us to perform a little more and do something a little bit more, you know, like a duet or something a little bit more full on, because they're signing and people having a chat and it's taking a bit longer. So yeah, we certainly do that. But yeah, we've got a range of good singers that I work with.
That's great. Well, thank you, Paddy. You're an amazing talent.
Thank you.
And we're very privileged to have you on board, not only tonight, but also within our industry. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's please give Paddy from Penny Lane a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, before we get to our next speaker, I'm going to go back to Brenton just very, very quickly, because a question did come up and I did miss it. So I apologise for that. And that special bride is on the call tonight. And I want to make sure that this question does get asked. So Brenton, the question is relating to social distancing. So in reference to taking photos, do, well, the couple and family members need to adhere to 1.5 metres social distancing requirements?
No, so this is where there's recommendations of 10 people per group for photos, but again, it comes down to being safe. So if you've got maybe all your mates from netball, it's something that obviously is not recommended that you want to get all your mates from netball in. The reason for that is they want to keep people from the same household, even in terms of venue, on ideally same household, same table. That's kind of the rules they're saying, and that then plays out in terms of photos. So ideally, it might be that you've got an extended family of, say, it's my parents, myself, my partner, brothers and sisters and siblings. It's a shot that you're not going to be able to capture again, but it's about getting the shot done and then moving on, ready for the next one. So that's probably the major difference. But it's not, there's not, what do you call it? There's not a defined state that's come out yet to say this is exact rules. So I guess it's about playing there. They've said in terms of photography, even in terms of outdoor photography for professionals, for family, there's no strict guidelines that they've said where you can't have, say, a reunion photo of different families, extended families coming together for that. But again, you've also got to remember that it's was supposed to only be the two lots of people from each house together, which I believe is now being taken away, I believe. So that's where then it's just going to change every week. So I guess, in my opinion, again, it's the whole positivity. If your wedding is not for 3 months, there's a good chance that we're going to look back and go, really, were those rules really in place back then? I always say, when you're planning, plan for the best scenario and the worst scenario. So yeah, I just don't feel like in 3 months' time, there's going to be rules about not having photos done with people that are important in your life, whether it's, you know, mum and dad and siblings and their kids. So I can't say 100%, but that's what we've been told so far. But again, we don't know what will change, go backwards, forwards.
Yeah. I think, like you said, in our industry, it's ever changing right now. So we just have to you know, play by the rule book, week by week, day by day, and just adhere to that. And just very quickly, one quick question that's come through again for you, Brenton. Pre-wedding photo shoots, are they still on the cards, still happening, available?
They are. So at the moment, well, actually, as of now, or as of Wednesday, they can be in studio as well, again, which is awesome. Yep. So yeah, definitely pre-wedding shoots, or I just call them couple shoots, because I think it's okay to have multiple couple shoots. There's, you know, I've had times where if someone's booked a photographer, they've had maybe a couple shoot done with that photographer, and they on the call or in the meeting, they felt like they gelled, but they may not have. Then they've done the couple shoot and then thought, holy crap, this person's not able to produce the results we want, or they just, you know, that's an hour and a half couple shoot. We're with them for 8, 9, 10 hours. This is not going to be fun. That's where it's harsh, but it gives you a chance to jump ship. But go and try a couple of different photographers. book in. It's not expensive to have a couple of different photo shoots. It doesn't need to just be the couple. It could be the couple with maybe they've got a puppy, or maybe they want to get photos done with their siblings, or now's a good time when we've been apart from our family so much. Why not book in with 4 photographers? One is a shot with your parents, one's a shot with your puppy, one's with your siblings. You've now covered Christmas presents, something for your siblings as well. You're helping the photography industry to recover from a pretty shitty few months, but also then that it's like, best way to describe this, they always say you should always go out and go on a couple of dates to make sure that you know what you're looking for in a partner. It's no different than a photographer, a celebrant, all those things. I always say to people, you want to make sure you've seen a band play before you book them, because you want to make sure that you've seen them either it's over internet or actually in person. You want to make sure that you get along with them. I would say a couple shoots. It's something that I would do personally 2 or 3 times. Then you guarantee you're going to love your photographer. And do one indoors, do one outdoors. Myself, we do a lot of couple shoots, and we have a studio. So we do studio, and then we go out and do on location, so they get a best of both worlds as well in their collection to pick from.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Brenton. So we're moving along quickly to our next speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are online, please make yourself comfortable, grab a drink. If you're having dinner, enjoy your dinner. Hope we're not intruding on that. So sit back and relax. We've got 2 more speakers. Our next speaker is in relation to custom-made jewellery. So obviously ensuring that everyone looks great, and more importantly, this is more personal than buying off the shelf, because it's actually made purely for you, so which is even more special. Her name is Simone Antoinette Jewellery, and she joins me now. It's over to you, Simone. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Sorry about that. Can you see me now? Sorry.
I can. Yep.
Thanks for the introduction, Sam, and thank you, Bloom, for organising all of this with the suppliers. It's really great. And I'd like to congratulate all the bride and grooms on their wedding, because it's an exciting time, and despite COVID, I think you can still have an incredibly special day. My name's Simone. As Sam said, I'm from Simone Antoinette Jewellery. I have a store located in Britannia Mall, Mitcham, Victoria. But I also have customers that come from all over Australia. So we sort of work it out between us, and it's been quite good. Sorry. I got lost, sorry. I'm a manufacturing jeweller by trade, and I did my apprenticeship 33 years ago. And in that time, I've pretty much handmade everything from earrings to engagement rings and wedding rings. Everything I produce is 100% handmade on site. You can see me there making away. By hand making the items, it also means that each piece is truly unique to the owner. Like everybody else was saying, I think when you give your suppliers plenty of yourself and your out of it, often people bring me designs they've found online or in magazines that they like, and together we make that vision a reality. Sorry. There's so many ways to make your piece unique too. It's about choosing a bespoke style with stones and design of your choice. But many of my customers also engrave their wedding date on the inside of the band, or popular with the men is something on the outside. Roman numerals are quite discreet, but it gives you a year or a date in a year. Sometimes I get people do French love phrases, so it's a little bit more to people that, there's a love phrase on the outside of your wedding ring necessarily. Some people do them on the inside. I've also had people get fingerprints. They're not their thumbprint, but a fingerprint of their partner on the inside of their ring, which is also really nice. But the choice is entirely yours. You might have seen something that you thought, wow, I wouldn't mind altering that to make it a bit more to fit me or who I am. Now, I also tailor make rings, and often they tell us stories. So the one you're looking at there is the client. The pink tourmaline is the centre stone, and it's the client's daughter. The tourmaline is also the client's birthstone. So you have the mother and the daughter already in the centre. The 4 blue sapphires around the outside represent her 3 boys, as well as her husband. So you're all tied in with the glue that's the diamonds, which makes for a really nice story. This one here was the mother being the blue sapphire in the centre, and either side are her small sons being the diamonds. And on the back of that one, I've hand pierced out 4 love hearts, just to indicate each member of the family. Then you've got mum and dad with the 2 sons. You sort of get a nice story that's discreet, that's yours within a piece of jewellery that way. So you can sort of, the more you let me in, the more I can help you create that story. And I think everybody's sort of saying the same thing. If you're worried about a budget, I can definitely help you find something that suits you. Don't be turned off because you're worried about a budget. You need to make something that's important and acknowledges that this is your wedding ring. It's a lasting memory of your special day and a continual love of each other. Quality pieces last generation after, and wedding rings in particular, are often passed down as a reminder of your heritage. I guess that's going back to Brenton and the photography and having that, as he called it, the coffin shot. But it's a really nice reminder of your heritage. So you want something that's going to last. Buying off the shelf is not so great when it comes to individual and lasting. At the moment with COVID, I've had a lot of people just starting off with an email, and then I call them back, or we'll have a few emails, discuss your ideas, discuss your budget, and we'll just together with you. Then after that, of course, I'll go away and I'll produce that piece. I'll have you try it on and make sure that you absolutely love it. And when restrictions ease, which is, well, for me, I'm one of the luckier ones, is Wednesday. I'm actually able to have people back in store. Of course, it still means we all need to wear masks and hand sanitize, and I'm cleaning after every person that's been in. Everything gets cleaned. If you've got any questions at all, or would like to find out a little bit more, discuss anything with me, give me a call, whatever you like. And I can't wait to see what I can do for you and your loved ones and make it your day as special as possible, really. And that's it from me.
Thanks, Simone. Thank you so much. Very, very insightful. And with all that insight, I guess the questions have been coming through. And one multiple question that's been coming through is the time frame of getting a wedding ring made.
Sorry.
How long, what's the average time frame for that?
The average time frame, you really need to leave yourself at least 6 to 8 weeks. A lot of people come in and say, I'm getting married on, Wednesday already, and what can you do for me? It makes it so much harder. I have a box full of jobs and 30 other people ahead of you, and it makes it so difficult. So if you can leave that 6 to 8 weeks, it leaves time to discuss the design, as well as, making it, obviously, and making sure that everything's right, that it fits and everything's ready to go.
Great. No, wonderful. And can couples, if they have old pieces of gold or jewelry, bring those pieces in and get them, redesigned or melted and into something unique?
Absolutely. I have a lot of people that Nana's engagement ring, or and it might have a whole heap of tiny little stones in it, and they'll use those stones and that gold to make their own wedding ring. That's a really nice reminder of who you are and who your family is, and it's all engaged into one ring, so it comes up beautifully.
That's great. No, wonderful. Well, that's all the questions for you. And I think one thing that I would love to mention also is that you're homegrown. So you're not an offshore product. You're based in Melbourne.
100%.
And we need to support local and get local back on track. So all for it. So those that are online, let's give a virtual round of applause and support moving forward for Simone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. So now I'm moving along to our final speaker. I'm very interested in this next speaker because I think we all will be, because we all have our own personal cravings, and that is obviously with food. I love food, and she's a food styling specialist. So her name is Sally Fenton. Sally, are you there?
I am here. Hi, everyone.
Welcome. Tell us all about your food styling expertise.
Okay, well, we do lots of things with food. So we are obviously a caterer. We make custom-made cakes. We organise events. So we're sort of like a one-stop shop, and we really like to be challenged. And, I've been reasonably lucky compared to some in the last few months that I have been able to trade as far as delivering food, but I've had to reinvent myself. If I bake another lasagna, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, probably throw it out the door, but we've been doing lots of homemade dinners and dinners for seniors and donating food. So we've been able to trade in some capacity over the last few months, but God, I've missed being part of people's special days. Like, by the time I meet with a client and we're cooking for them on the night, we've developed a relationship, and, I love being part of people's every occasion, their weddings, anything that they do. So I have really missed it, and I didn't think that I would miss it as much as I had. So I am looking forward to getting back into the kitchen and cooking things other than lasagnas and mac and cheese, which is going to be great. It's also allowed me a bit of reflection time in reinventing ways that we do things as well, because obviously we're going to have to. One thing that I'm really passionate about is sustainable packaging and how we can do different things with food and ensure that they're safe and no cross-contamination, and grazing tables, which were just the bomb and the hit prior to COVID, how we're going to be able to do those. Are we going to be able to do those going forward? I know Queensland and New South Wales has banned them. I'm not sure if it's going to come to Victoria, that grazing tables are no longer there, but we've designed some amazing things to be able to still do them and offer them at functions for people, and some new ways we've launched a really lovely petite cake range. So we actually have been working on some really great installations with petite cakes. So instead of having one big cake that everyone cuts up and touches and pulls out and does whatever at the end of the night, creating an art or food installation of little petite cakes that you can then individually package up or put onto a plate, or people can take home. So we've been trying to work on some different ways that we can present food, whilst it still makes people, feel part of an actual, an event. It's also quite individual as well. So that's been good. So we've been able to work on some of those things and have some things coming through. But I'm not quite sure what else to say. We can pretty much work with all dietary, all budgets. We've worked with small events, big events. We've had all the experience. We're trying to work with a few people at the moment about planning functions where the actual function is in 2 sittings, like 2 parts of the function. So yes, they can only have 10 people at a time, but we might start that earlier in the day, have those people have a little bit of a mini break, and then have some more people come in for like a second sitting, which you actually legally can do. So then instead of having 10, you can have 20, but over a whole day, and then there's a break in the middle. So we've been able to work out that with some people. And, you know, the great thing about dealing with all of us within this industry is, you know, we are all creatives in a capacity, and we can think outside of the box. So a lot of us are, you know, obviously keen to get back into work. And as I said, I'm really keen to get back into cooking for people. And I love cooking for people and making them smile and happy. And yeah, so I'm not sure what else to say. I'm running out of words. And I don't have a PowerPoint presentation like the one before me, which was amazing.
But Sally, I can tell you now, I've got one question that's coming through, and this person quotes, Sally is awesome. Let's have a look at her cakes. So let's talk about cakes.
Okay, let's talk about cakes. Go.
Okay.
What would you like to know? We do lots of different cakes. We can cater to all dietary requirements once again. We do a lot of custom made cakes. We obviously do wedding cakes. We've done cakes made out of cheese wheels. We've done lots of different themed cakes. I do like a challenge. I like making something structurally work as well as taste great. So I do like talking to people about their requirements. Obviously, you know, the more time you can give us, the better. And but yeah, we've done lots of different cakes, and you know, you can get onto our socials and website. I haven't really bought any pictures or anything tonight, but you know, everything that we do, I don't think any of my wedding cakes I've ever repeated. So they're always individual. I get to know them. I get to know the couple, and, you know, I can do sketches and create and fit in with colour themes and flowers and, or not flowers, or, you know, if you don't like cake and you want cheese, you know, as I said, we've done these big, huge cheese wheel cakes because they didn't want a cake. So I do like thinking outside of the square, and I do like, you know, putting things together. And I do love it when they say, we'll just leave it to you and see what you come up with as well. That's awesome as well. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what else to say about the cakes part, but thank you to whoever said that I make amazing cakes. I think I might have known who it is, but thank you very much. But yeah, so we do try really hard to become part of the day and the experience, the total experience of the day. And I think, yeah, I'm not sure what else to say, Sam.
Excellent. Cultural dietary requirements, can you accommodate?
I'm unable to do kosher because I don't have a kosher kitchen. Gluten-free, not a problem. Dairy-free, not a problem. I get a bit hesitant when it comes to nut allergies because my kitchen makes a lot of different types of food. I don't feel comfortable with lots of products nowadays that say may contain traces of nuts, even in my flours and things like that. And obviously anaphylaxis is one of the biggest and most severe allergies you can get. So besides nut allergies and obviously kosher, we can accommodate anything. Vegan, I've got an amazing vegan menu option now. Been working on lots of new vegan additions. We've always had a lot of gluten-free, like in our finger food and our main course options. We've always had lots of that, and not necessarily intentionally. It's just the way it's worked out. So not a problem at all. We can fit in with all that.
Okay, cool. And one question that has just popped up, and it's more of a personal question.
Oh.
Who or what inspired you to do this?
Okay. Well, my life hasn't always been about cooking. So my previous life, and still part of my life now, is I'm a graphic designer and marketing by trade. And then 7 years ago, I mean, my father actually was the main cook in our family. My father was a scallop fisherman for 40 years. So we were incredibly lucky to have lots of seafood. Like a lot of people would have probably had chicken growing up. So I know I was very lucky, but he taught me how to cook. We had lots of, you know, gutting fish and baking cakes and a lot of different things going on in our kitchen growing up. So my dad was my inspiration and remains my inspiration for cooking. So we've always been a big foodie family. And then I started getting into the cake the cake business, not necessarily intentionally, and then it took off. So my sort of creative flair from being graphic designer and the baking experience sort of merged into one, and then took off the catering. So I've been now doing this for 7 years.
Yep.
So I really do like playing with food and pushing it and creating installations with food as well. So yeah, so it all sort of now fits nicely under a little umbrella for me, and I can do a bit of this and a bit of that. But I do love the experience. I do love the reaction from people when they eat my food. Like I don't like being at the front. I like being at the back in the kitchen, but I like peeking through and actually love seeing people enjoy what I've cooked for them. I really do enjoy that.
That's good. Well, I'm told your graphic design talent is clearly shown in your cake designs. So a little birdie's talking to me right now.
Oh, is there? Yeah, no, I do love, like I've done cakes, double-headed dragon cakes and minions, lots of minions and lots of different things that kids want, that, you know, amazing creations. But, you know, I also do love making wedding cakes and making beautiful looking things. So
wonderful. Oh, that's great. So where do we find you?
I'm in Moorabbin.
Yep.
So I am Melbourne born and raised as well. So I'm at One Rings Road, Moorabbin, and we've got a little factory there. I've got a social media presence on obviously Instagram and Facebook. So I'm food styling and on Facebook, and food styling Melbourne on Instagram. And I'm pretty active with my social media as far as my business goes. So, you know, feel free to follow me, and I'll make you hungry all the time. It's great.
Sounds good. And one great thing that I thought of you as well, Sally, is the coming from a European background myself, you know, you may have your venue booked for your function or your wedding or what have you, but pre-wedding, food is a major key factor at the house and at European houses, for instance. And, you know, when people and guests walk in, they want to see a mass table full of food and a variety of food. Can you accommodate for that?
Definitely can.
Cool.
Definitely can, not a problem. And I'm very much about the theatre. So I love finishing off the food, and people love seeing it getting finished and cooked, and sort of seeing where it's come from. And so everything we make with love, and we make from scratch. And yeah, so we can definitely accommodate the also makes me very nervous when I walk into a home full of a lot of people that are great cooks. We love doing that as well. So we can definitely accommodate that.
Okay, wonderful. No, that's great. Okay, well, look, that final wraps up all our speakers for this session, our second session of Getting Hitched. So I want to thank each and every one of you on behalf of Michelle. I'm going to hand it over to Michelle, because I'm sure she'll have some words to say to the audience, and also to us all who have been presenting tonight. Just one thing, everybody that who is online, anything that you have heard tonight, or if you wish to find out any further information relating to any of our speakers here this evening, please reach out to Bloom Entertainment. Michelle will collate all the relevant content and send out a distribution of tonight's guest speakers, and also previous guest speakers that spoke last week. And also be reminded that we have another, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, 3 more sessions, or 2, 3, 2, 4 more to go?
3 more.
3 more to go. Okay, great. So we're here every Monday night from 7 o'clock. Please circulate these. Please rejoin us again next week. Circulate these sessions to your family and friends. And yeah, my name is Sam Muscat, and I thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Sam. What an amazing night. We're so blessed to have such amazing suppliers come and jump on board with this series. So thank you guys all for being here tonight. We graciously accept all of your knowledge and your information and the effort that you put in to try and help our couples with making sure that it's not too scary at the moment with COVID, and that there is some really, really amazing things that they can still do with their wedding. So thank you so much. Sam, always appreciate your amazing emceeing skills, facilitating all of the questions and taking us through the night. I'm so glad that we've got you on board for all of the sessions, so thank you. as Sam mentioned, 3 more sessions to go. So please come back, come along and have a listen, and make sure you hear from the other suppliers that we've got coming along. I know that I've had a couple of questions tonight about websites and about contacting different suppliers. I will make sure that I put those in the Facebook comments on the live Facebook feed so that everybody's links are there. But as Sam said, we will always also make sure that we send everybody's information out to everyone who has registered to be a part of this series. So if you've jumped on Facebook, or if you're seeing this from a friend and you do want to register to make sure that you can get some information from our suppliers, just drop me an email with some information at michelle@bloomentertainment.com.au, and I will make sure that you get all of that information sent across as well. Thank you. Have an amazing night. I look forward to seeing you all next week. And suppliers, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. See you next week.
So, if you don't want to see me dancing with somebody, if you want to believe that anything could stop me, don't show up, don't come out, don't stop caring about me now. Walk away, you know how